Kings and queens, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Dead by Daylight recently did an Ask Me Anything on their Reddit, and we're going to review all of the questions and answers that were given. First off, we have, what are you guys planning on doing with the Skull Merchant? This is a really good question because God knows what's going on with the Skull Merchant. Well, they said, we are aware that the Skull Merchant is very good at locking down generators in certain situations. We have a big reworked plan for a future release. There's too much detail to go into here, but we will be releasing more information soon. Not even a soon TM with this one. So in my mind, I feel like the Skull Merchant is going to be getting this update in the next mid-chapter patch. So we probably will see that PTB in a few weeks. That's just my guess. But it sounds like they have something pretty major planned for the Skull Merchant, which can be really good. Right now, as it stands, Skull Merchant isn't necessarily in the best state. I don't care what anybody says, it does lead to boring gameplay whenever a Skull Merchant locks down 3 generators and the game prolongs for 20-30 minutes. So getting a Skull Merchant rework is looking pretty good, and I'm pretty excited for this. Next question on the list is, does hitting thumbs up on a player do anything? Do you actively use this data at the moment? In case you don't know what this is, essentially when you go into the report system, there is an option to give props. It's a really forgotten kind of system. A lot of people don't even know that this exists. And their response pretty much was no. I mean, they kind of sugarcoated it and gave you a little bit more of a PR response, but in short, no, it does nothing. They say that they monitor it, but I mean, what's the point if it does nothing? So again, to me, this is just a cheeky PR response. The answer is no, it does absolutely nothing. It would be cool if you yourself can see the amount of props, or when someone gives you props and it like pops up. That would be pretty cool at the end of a match or something along the lines of that. I think things like this could really be incorporated in their new barrack system that they're going to introduce. I always compare this to Call of Duty, where you're going to get your calling cards. Again, they announced this on their developer live stream where they said that we're going to be getting calling cards to identify our profiles a little bit better. There could be challenges that they could incorporate this, which will make the players grind so much more. In short, essentially giving props or receiving props a certain amount of times could be a challenge that could be there, like a mastery challenge. You unlock it and you get yourself a new calling card that you can showcase on your profile. I have a whole thing with this and their calling cards and how well this can affect the game, but that's for another day. In short, to answer this question, it does nothing. And hopefully in the future, at least for me, I hope they do something with it. Is it possible to say more about the situation of the fast vaults? In case you guys didn't know, fast vaults were pretty bugged and they were a little bit inconsistent on all sides. There was even times where vaults just, you know, if a character went over a trap, it didn't trigger the trap whatsoever. Bugs have been plaguing vaults. Their answer is, we're aware of the inconsistencies surrounding the fast vault information for survivors and are anticipating addressing this in the upcoming PTB. So hopefully we will see some changes very, very soon. The quicker these bugs and issues are fixed, the better it is for everybody. Hey, before we jump on into the next question, I just want to let you guys know, first of all, thank you for all of the love and support that you've recently been giving me. I cannot be more appreciative of that. And I want to let you guys know, as I always do, we're back to streaming on Twitch. I want to beat this in your head. I want to let you guys know that we're here and hopefully we'll see you there. And I do this because every time I do, I always get new folks that come in saying, hey, first time catching your stream, glad to be here. And it means the world to me when you guys come on over. So please, 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 if you have the time, head on over to twitch.tv/theking. We're live every single weekday from 12:30 to about 3:30 p.m. So hopefully we'll see you guys there and it's a nice fun time. All right, back to the video. The long-awaited Twins Rework, let's hear this question. Is the planned Twins Rework going to transform the power comprehensively to the point where it bears few to no similarities to the original, or will the core gameplay remain intact? And their response was, we will be releasing the Twins update soon, TM, so you know that's going to be a very long time. Currently, we're aiming for a more of a tweak to the base kit and a couple of add-ons to alleviate some friction points, adjust the slugging meta, and stop Victor from getting stuck all over the map. Hopefully, they'll be more fun to play for everyone. To me, this just sounds like they're smoothing things out. It doesn't necessarily sound like a rework that we were necessarily promised. Obviously, we'll have to see it, but in their works themselves, it's a tweak to the kit. So we're probably going to be getting the same thing with just a few numbers pulled here and there. Maybe there's going to be no long animation between switching the two characters, things like that. Add-on pass, which they definitely can use. I'm all for that. And again, Victor getting stuck all over the map just sounds like they're going to be fixing all of their hitboxes. So overall, I'm not going to really say anything too much because we haven't seen it, but based on what we've seen on paper, I'm kind of in a meh kind of section. We've been waiting for a Twins rework for such a long time, and if it's just a tiny tweak, I would be rather disappointed. But we'll see, and maybe this tweak is major and it changes the Twins completely. Again, this is something that we have to wait and see. It says soon TM, so I'm expecting personally next year that this happens. Next on the list, can you say anything about if there will possibly be limited time game modes or different permanent game modes in the future? Absolutely fantastic question. I know the community has been talking about game modes since the beginning of everything, so let's see what they said. They said, while I can't say much, we have been hard at working prototyping some new things for the future of DBD. We're aiming for 2024. We'll keep you updated. Now, this is interesting because in their previous developer stream, they kind of alluded and hinted that new game modes were coming. It's really ironic because when I did my interview with Matthew Cote last October, we brushed around the idea of new game modes, and he said yes, but not in the way that you think of. And before that, in the year before, he said no. So it seems that they recently started working on this. And I think initially what their plan was to incorporate this new type of thing to do in the game as secondary objectives in your events. And now that they've seen that it was probably successfully done, they're experimenting with bringing it into a full game mode or limited time game mode. I've spoken tons about custom, matches actually being the host for different game modes, and I think this would be a fantastic idea only for custom matches. Personally, I think it'll bring too much problems if they release it publicly, so I think it'll be much better if you can play it privately with your friends and still gain a certain amount of blood points. I think that will make these type of game modes have so much more longevity than if they were spending so much time and assets putting it into a public game, splitting the player base, and then one of the game modes is going to end up dying. Not to mention the amount of different balance reworks that you need to take into consideration, etc. If it's in custom games, it's just a free-for-all, every man for himself. Whatever happens, it's a custom game. Who cares? Next on the list, basically, are they planning on making changes or nerfs to Made for This? And in short, they said Made for This is on the list or a bit of a touch-up soon. Short, sweet, and simple, Made for This is going to be getting some changes. Next on the list, what's been going on with your cosmetic descriptions lately? In case you guys didn't know, people have been rather upset that the flavor text and descriptions have just been kind of all over the place. Sometimes you get good things, sometimes you get bad things. It's just been weird. They said we've been experimenting with description templates in an attempt to standardize text in the store. We've heard your feedback and we'll be improving the process and the content. That's great. I'm happy to hear that because, there's so much people that actually care about the descriptions and flavor tags, and you want to give it your all and give the community exactly what they're looking forward to and not go below their expectations. So I'm happy that they're deciding to rework this and make some adjustments to it because it would be really nice to have those small little improvements as they go such a long way. Last question on their recap specifically. It says, I really enjoyed the PTP that was just for auto Moris and felt like the community's feedback mattered. Are there plans to do future PTPs to test out big mechanics changes like that? They said, yes, organizing PTPs can be tricky for many reasons, but the information and feedback we get from them is vital. Not every feature and change will go through a PTP like the chapters, but I'm hopeful it'll happen again. That said, we monitor the community's feedback even when we do not go through a PTP, so please continue to share what's on your mind. Ultimately, just reinforcing that your feedback matters the most when it comes down to these things. No matter if you just picked up the game or if you've been a veteran for 10,000 plus hours, your feedback matters. And this is the only way we're going to see changes that the community really wants to see rather than what Dead by Daylight thinks it's right. At the end of the day, it is their game. 100% true, and they'll make whatever decision they ultimately think is the best, but us as a community are responsible of giving them this information, as we're the ones that are sticking thousands of hours into the game, so we have the experience to tell them, hey, maybe this isn't necessarily the best idea, and you could do it this way instead, and then they can take our feedback into consideration, and then adjust whatever changes they're going to make. All right, let's go through some of the other comments that we had. It said, in the previous Ask Me Anything, you confirmed that Freddy will receive an update. Can you say anything about him? And I basically said, yeah, we're still planning on tweaking Freddy's gameplay. However, our priority list has shifted, as is to be expected of a live game. It will happen at some stage. So that basically means it's not coming out early next year. That's probably like mid next year where we're going to be seeing some Freddy changes. It's way down the list. Next, somebody asked about the Xenomorph themed hooks. Essentially, if you didn't know, the Xenomorph had some different hooks way back in the days. In case you aren't an OG and you don't know, which I assume not many of you are, every killer had their specific type of hook, which means that you can identify what killer you're playing against by looking at the hooks. It was a really cool feature, but people ultimately figured out who the killer was, and it broke some of the immersion, so they decided to make standard hooks for everybody. Essentially, they're saying no specific plans on reintroducing killer-themed hooks. They have none of them. And the Xenomorph was only to bring back victims to the hive, so we wanted to make it feel like a homecoming of sorts, hence why the hooks are hive-themed. So, fair enough. I can respect it, I can dig it, but I really do wish those killer themed hooks came back, and maybe they just like animated themselves once you got a hook, so people already knew who you were. Or they could bring it in as a reward in their rift, and then you can just select whatever type of hook you want, whatever theme you want. Hopefully they do that in the future. That'll be really, really sick. Next on the list, do you plan on some sort of cosmetic milestone for hitting Prestige 100 on a character? They said, as players who get to Prestige 100 are very, very rare, we currently don't have any plans for updating Prestige 100 rewards. So I can kind of talk about this a little more. I'm sure their priorities have shifted a little bit, but I had some conversations with folks, and essentially from what I heard, the plan is to just raise the prestige level once tons of people have received Prestige 100. I don't necessarily know if this is still their focus. You know, I had this conversation a very, very long time ago, probably when Prestiges were just released. So obviously tons of things change, but personally, I would love to see some rewards again. I think they can tie this into their new calling card system that they're going to introduce. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, they announced that a calling card type of feature is going to come up sometime in the future, where when you hover over a player's name, it'll show like a little calling card and maybe an emblem with your name, maybe even some stats, whatever it is, but it'll be customizable to whatever you select. I think if you hit Prestige 100 on every single character or any character, there should be different rewards. So a Prestige 100 variation that you could use on anybody, a Prestige 100 variation calling card that is specific to that character. And if somehow you manage to get Prestige 100 on every single character, you unlock like the biggest, best calling card there is, like a mastery calling card. Again, this is just wild ideas, but I think they can incorporate this and it'll be so well. I just really hope they put the extra effort into doing that because it will be so cool. Anyways, I'm fanboying too much. Let's continue. Will you bring back old cosmetics for newer players? And they said that event limited outfits will come back every year for new players to obtain, some for very rare and above. However, legacy outfits will not be returning. I used to be on the other side of the fence where I actually, you know, got upset when they reintroduced some of the old outfits and brought it back into the game, and I was like, dude, I was there, I grinded for it, for example, like Legacy, and a part of me still feels that way, especially when it comes to Legacy. I was there, I grinded for it, and that was just kind of like a one-time thing. It just seems weird because they can't really seem to find the ground that they want to stand on. Back in the days, they were like, yes, if it's there and you were there, you get it, if not, you don't. And then they kind of shifted their gears and they're like, now everybody can get everything. So there's a debate on both sides, and I've definitely been on both sides. I see both sides, you know what I mean? Like, as someone that has Legacy, I don't want to give anybody else legacy. It may sound stingy, but you just had to be there to get it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like an emblem to show that, hey, I was there, I obtained this, I put the work in, and this is something that, you know, other people can't get because you had to be an OG, you had to be there to get it. And as time goes on, the newer players will have outfits, or at least if this was still the case, would have had outfits to showcase to the other players being like, hey, I was here since this point in time. Then again, I'm on the other side. At the end of the day, it is just a video game and it's a cosmetic. Why gatekeep it and, you know, suppress other people's fun? It's not like people are running around using the event cosmetic so much more than regular ones. So I can definitely see both sides of the argument. Nonetheless, legacy staying the same and other events, items, you know, recurring, whatever. It is what it is. Next question was, is there any plans to customize the bot cosmetics? And they said, nope, no plans for that. It's probably just too much time and effort. I can respect it. Here's an update on the Iron Maiden collection. According to them, they said that the Iron Maiden collection will come early next year. There will be a full collection of Eddies, and they all look super cool. And I'll leave you with this one. This one says, will Five Nights at Freddy's ever be in Dead by Daylight in the near future? And Dave said, never say never. I can already tell the amount of, you know, crazy theories that are going to happen. But I mean, it just keeps the hype up. You know, it always keeps conversations. You don't want to shut anything down necessarily, especially from a game dev standpoint. Keeping those conversations going, it's part of the big fun of Dead by Daylight, of speculating and theorizing, etc., which ultimately gives Dead by Daylight more publicity. So I can understand this, even if they have no plans whatsoever. And you know, at the same time, they are a business. You know, they wouldn't just blatantly say, no, we're not working with this person and make bad connections with people. Never say never, I think, is a fair response. Not confirming, not denying. Fair. But there you go, guys. That is pretty much all of the major things that we received in this Ask Me Anything from Dead by Daylight. Pretty cool stuff, I gotta say. Some of these things were pretty cool. Good information, good to know some ETAs, etc. I did kind of expect a little bit more because the previous Ask Me Anything was really juicy. This one was just kind of all right. It was just floating around there, but nonetheless, happy to get some questions answered from the community, and hopefully that gives you guys some insight on things to come. As I said before, make sure you guys are following on Twitch. We're going to be streaming a lot more. I've been, you know, beating this in your head, but we're back to streaming. We're doing our thing. We're going to be giving away codes for the Xenomorph, so hopefully we'll see you guys there, twitch.tv/theking. And if you did enjoy, leave a like down below, subscribe for some more awesome DBD content, and as always, I'm the King. I'd send my crown to you guys, and we'll see you in the fog.